Hey guys, so today I wanted to put a video up about picking technique, and it's a hugely sort of misunderstood area of the guitar, and it's all taught, the emphasis is all upside down for so many players. They emphasize too much on the hand in the beginning, and I've got some ideas about shifting that emphasis and things that I think can solve a lot of issues for a lot of players. Now, I've been listening to a lot of players recently that swear by the George Benson technique. Obviously, because George, he plays it, he's phenomenal. Adam Rogers uses a similar technique, and he's amazing as well. And so this kind of technique can, be mastered, and it can be so free. But then also, conventional technique at the same time, that can be mastered as well. But there seems to be a lot of guitarists that have heaps of difficulty with conventional technique. And every time I go and watch videos of Al Di Meola and John McLaughlin or Borelli Le Green, any player that has really good, conventional technique, I always think, well, how the hell have they mastered this? And, so many people are struggling with it. And then, you've got guys like with unconventional techniques like the Benson technique that are swearing by that, and how come that can work for them and conventional technique doesn't work for some people and it does for some, and whatever else. And so I've been looking at guys like Al Di Meola, John Petrucci and John McLaughlin and George Benson, and trying to work out what are the important concepts with picking that so many guitarists are missing out on. Now some guitarists have got these concepts, obviously, because that's why they're so good. But why the hell aren't all these, if they've got it, why isn't it common knowledge to everyone? And why do so many people struggle with conventional technique? So this is what I think. I've got some ideas that really will help the development of, making these things, more common knowledge. And I guess, I'm still trying to figure it out as well. So, feedback, and it's always interesting seeing what other people, what other people's thoughts are, and, trying to, just put more knowledge out there and see what people think of it. So anyway, these are my ideas. Now, in terms of emphasis of what is the most important thing with the guitar and picking, the shoulder is the most important thing, the arm. And I'll show you why. Not the hand, not the picking, not what this is doing, not what pick you have, not, micro movements down here. It's the whole mass first. I mean, to one analogy, it's more of a pianistic approach, in that piano players, when you first start learning about technique and stuff, they talk about posture and they talk about the big muscles first, being relaxed, letting your shoulders sink, and having the weight of your arm in the fingers and all those sort of things. I mean, I'm not a piano player, but they start with the macro and then work to the micro, And I think that approach definitely needs to start coming into guitar picking, because that's what it's all about. Now, so it's all about the shoulder. And now what this means is that when you pick, I'm just going to tilt this down so you can see my guitar a bit better. So you don't really need to see what I'm, me. Now when you pick, you've got to see the shoulder. When you pick, what this means is that there can be no tension in your shoulder. Now what tension means is that if you have your hand, and whatever position you're in, if there's weight of your arms being supported by your shoulder, then that is tension. And you can have no tension in the shoulder or the arm anywhere at all, period. So, whatever position you're in, if you can relax more like this to a point where you can't relax anymore, then that is the position where you have no tension in the arm, like this. I have no tension in my arm here. Okay? Now, the problem with so many guitarists that play small-bodied electric guitars like this, to put my hand into position, I have to do something like this. Now here, I have got tension in my arm. If I moved the guitar away from me, even with the guitar there, I would still be using the shoulder to support my arm, to have it in position. You know, even with the guitar there, and some weight's being taken by the forearm here on the body of the guitar, if I fully relax, I can keep sinking like that. And this is the position where I actually feel comfortable, where I feel free to pick. But as you can see, my pick is nowhere near the strings. So the problem with that is that so many guitarists, they like spend hours, you know, picking, trying to work out all the intricacies of all this, but they don't realize the whole time they've got tension in here, and they're never practicing their pick technique when they're free, and they just get used to it. But the problem is any tension here results in inconsistency, and you'll never be free, you know, to have a floating wrist or to you mute and to freely move between any sort of variation. It'll just be, you'll just always feel confined, and you'll never get to the root of the problem. Imagine it's like a signal that comes from your brain all the way down your arm to the pick. And then at any point where there's tension, it just stops, it just inhibits the flow, and you'll never feel really loose down here. Now, so what I'm actually saying is that the problem with conventional technique when you sit down is that you never get rid of this tension in the arm. I mean, I've never been able to play on an electric guitar sitting down and fully be free with the tension here. Never. And I've tried, and I just can't do it, because every time I relax, I do that, or I do that, or something else happens like this. And then I have to compensate by either, you know, if my shoulder's fully relaxed like this, I have to compensate by, you know, bringing the pick up like this, but then there's other issues with that. Or I do this to get the comfortable pick angle and my hand feels better, but now I've got this tension here. So I've never been able to work it out. Now, this is the one area where the Benson technique has its huge advantage, because by playing like the Benson technique, where the pick sits on the pad of the index finger as opposed to the side, and the pad of the thumb, your position because your wrist is so much further down, it promotes this relaxed forearm, this relaxed upper arm. You know, because you're picking. In fact, you can go even lower, you know. So you can see my arm is much more relaxed than, you know, there's no way I could play conventional technique with my wrist down here. So I'd have to bring it all the way up, and that forces me to move to this position, and there is tension in the arm there. So, you know, what's the way around this? Well, one option is, I mean, some people compensate by, you know, playing in the classical position, and, you know, that's good because the guitar's further down, you know, it allows them to relax the shoulder more. But the problem is that most players aren't going to adopt that 24/7 to practice. So, you know, it's about just understanding what are the limitations of your technique, and what positions can you do some technique in, and what can't you do it, you know, what positions you can't do your technique in. So the thing that made me start being aware of this was when I started playing acoustic guitar. So I'm going to grab my acoustic guitar. Now, with the acoustic, because there's a big body here, that's what sort of saves you. Because what I do is I suspend my arm, and then I let the whole arm fall into the guitar, like literally let it fall. So if I moved the guitar like this, then my arm would just drop to the floor because there's no tension in it. I'm not supporting it with the shoulder at all. And because the body's so much bigger, higher up here, it actually, my hand naturally falls into the correct position without any tension here, you know? So I can practice my picking now, and I'm totally relaxed in the shoulder. Now, if you look at videos of Al Di Meola and John McLaughlin, especially those two guys, or any acoustic player that has really good picking technique, watch this shoulder. This does not move, ever. So even in a faster run, you know, if I was playing something like this, not that that's fast, but the idea is when you play something, whatever it might be, at any point if the guitar got moved out, my arm would just do that because there's nothing in there. And that is the most crucial part about picking, you know? I mean, the Benson technique, is really good because it promotes that relaxed arm. But the conventional technique, I don't use the Benson technique a lot at all. I use conventional technique because I prefer the sound of the pick through the string this way as opposed to this way. There's a slight difference, I don't. So now that's the difference. For me it's a sound thing, but that's because I've worked out how to keep my arm completely relaxed. And now if you're teaching beginners how to pick, they don't have the familiarity with, you know, with the hand position, holding the pick correctly, to worry about any of the stuff that's going on down here. This is what they need to worry about, all this stuff, being relaxed, and they need to practice getting a guitar and relaxing their arm into it, you know? And so think about how many beginners start on their first lesson, they sit in front of the teacher and they're sitting down. If they fully relaxed, the beginner would be like this. There'd be no way they would pick like this, you know? So already from day one, they've got this tension here, and they're not experiencing this fully free. I mean, the picking is supposed to be effortless, like all technique. And the only way you get really fast is with having no tension in here. You know? And that involves, if your hand has to come up here, that involves somehow getting the arm to be supported. And in this position, it's impossible. My arm is supporting my arm. It's holding it there. You know, if I don't hold it there, it does that. Now I would be free. If the guitar was somehow all the way down there, now I would be free. And this is why if you go and check out even videos of Steve Vai, Al Di Meola, when those guys play electric guitar, the guitar is so much lower. The guitar's like down here when they're standing up. And you can see that my arm is so much more relaxed. And that when I move to access all the strings, I'm not moving. It's not, I don't have to support my arm at all. I just bend it. Whereas when I'm up here, it's a totally different story. So that's, you know, that's why whenever I practice sitting down now, I only ever play acoustic guitar, because I can let the arm just, and I'm free. You look at Al Di Meola, he plays really big body guitars, and he's not like a really tall, long guy. He's, you know, he's a bit, you know, average sort of size. But even when his arm's up